Welcome everyone to FPL Jedi Show. We are now officially in Game Week 27, of which we have witnessed the Liverpool assets halls in Game Week 26. My name is Hafiz, and definitely I would like to welcome Azmin to the show. How's your feeling after Game Week 26?
Oh, I'm pumped, very, very happy. Obviously. But yeah, that's one game week, and we have to push on and keep going.
Yep. So between both of us, okay, myself, I did wildcard last week. So you know what happened to all the wildcarders last week. We have so-called fail in terms of points. And for who did not wildcard, like Azmin, who has Mo Salah and the co, they definitely gain a lot of points. So we shall touch later in details in terms of our team. So let's jump straight to all the talking points for Game Week 27. We'll definitely run through the team review, and then we have a look at the match analysis, of which we will touch in terms of the upcoming players, the key players to target for double Game Week 27. We can see that Brentford and Brighton on the horizon. We will also look at the points prediction for Game Week 27, who are the top five so-called that we should target. The Game Week 27 fixture, of which we can mention this is a double Game Week 27. Brentford, Brighton, Crystal Palace, and also Southampton will play twice. And then our captain pick, and then the transfer plan for this week, man. Before we go, welcome to Rakan FPL, okay, to our stream. So definitely he also feel hurt, I suppose. Even hurt when Salah haul against your team, but you don't have him in your FPL team. All right, it's a worst feeling. I can tell you that. Right, man. Let's definitely walk through your team. You actually scored a mouthful 74 points, and you got a green arrow from 1.5 million jump to 1.1 million. Man.
Yep. I have to say I'm really, really happy. Obviously. So what I did was basically two transfers. Taking a hit because I need to get to the double game week, but deciding not to wild card. So I had two transfers. One was for Mitoma, and the other one was for me. So obviously Mitoma worked out well, thank goodness. But me, unfortunately, I picked the wrong one because if it had been pinned up, then it would have been much better because Brentford also didn't keep a clean sheet and actually conceded 2 goals, hence the one. So yeah, very but that means I did wild card, and as such, Salah and Darwin stayed on my roster, and it turned out well. So really, really happy. Unfortunately, captaincy I did go for Haaland, but yeah, I gained slightly because against those who went for Saka. But yeah, imagine if I had Captain Salah. But yeah, bygones. Other than that, yeah, Arsenal, despite winning, Saka, Odegaard, all the popular picks seem to fail. Saka and Odegaard didn't. Saliba also only 1 point, which was disappointing. Trippier once again disappointing. So you got to wonder about his viability moving forward. But the funny thing is, we was watching it in the Wolves match against Spurs, and I I was looking at it wondering what is Harry Kane actually going to score at some point, and then he didn't. And Sa, because obviously Sa was heavily involved, and and ended up with 11, so it's like 6 plus 3 and another 3. So with saves and bonus points, and he got to 11. So I was just laughing it off, and I told he said if he does a return like that, I'm just gonna laugh it off, and he did. Then Kim Ward comes along the picture and he saves a penalty. And unfortunately, he did concede and end up losing, but because he saved that save penalty, plus he had multiple saves, so end up with 3 bonus points, and he still got 11 as well. So yeah, not gonna complain. Very, very pleased and happy. Lucky, some luck played into it, but in the end, I got away with 74 points. So very, very happy there.
Yep. I'm happy for you too. Okay. We did discuss about Sa versus what we did mention in midweek, of which there is a potential Wolf could actually keep or produce a result against Spurs. We already know their inconsistency. They actually lost against Sheffield United in FA Cup. So there's a potential. And then the 11 points came, all right? But then when I actually watch a bit of Southampton versus Leicester, at least at the beginning, and when I saw Southampton got that penalty and JWP took that, I said, wow. At first thought, I did mention whoever bringing JWP ahead of the Gameweek 27 double, they actually had a good point to make a
Start with.
ground, right? To start
Yeah.
with. And then he actually missed the penalty, and then I realized what is in your team. So it's wow. So that's how it is. This is your week, definitely.
Yeah, and so Andreas disappointing on the bench. So I think most of people who wildcarded do not have Andreas, so it's a bit frustrating for me to have him there, because I thought Brentford would have a good, would still be able to put up with tight defense, but that didn't happen. But coming back to that, your Southampton Leicester match. So I really thought Leicester were gonna at least score, and that's why Nacho is still there. But unfortunately, that happened. Disappointing. Yeah. And before you go to your team, I just wanna put a shout out to Rakan FPL's Jebs Jual Elak Beli video. Because it was thanks to that video, then I decided to take a bit more closer look at Salah, because Rakan FPL mentioned him as a big game player, and then I look back and look at the stats, and indeed he was scoring against Spurs, against City, against Manchester United in the return match. So I figured, okay, what the hell, I'm gonna because it was a choice between Neves, so I just had enough to go to Mitoma, but the alternative was selling Salah for Mitoma and having some funds. So I decided to just keep that, since okay, let's go. Well, one goal should be fine, if hopefully. And yeah, it turned out really well. So thank you, Rakat FPL. I got to credit you. You started me along that line to keeping Salah. So I'm not gonna I got to credit you for that.
Great stuff. So we then move to my team. Okay, we can see the difference, of which I did wildcard in game 26, and I only got 49 points, of which my rank slightly dropped from 25,054 to slightly 300 points below. Okay, rank below 25,387. Okay, not much of difference. But before the Liverpool game, my rank was around 16k, man. So that's the difference that the Liverpool assets made, and impact to my team and the rest of the wildcarders. I'll run through my team a bit. I have Kepa in goal, 6 point, but I already have Raya for the double game week 27. I could easily play Raya, but that could be an option. And I feel Chelsea also has some good records at home, especially in terms of their defense. So great, I got 6 point. Henry, 1 point. It could easily be me, which is only got 1 point. But can you imagine if it's Pinnock? Because Pinnock actually scored a goal against Fulham and he got 7 points. So that's like 50-50 call. Gabriel, 1 point. A bit disappointing, like Azmi mentioned, all the Arsenal asset, okay, even though they come back from 2 goal down and come back 3-2, okay, but the main assets are not producing. All right, so Gabriel, 1 point. Estupinan for double game week 27, he kept a clean sheet, 6 points. So I'm happy to have him. Odegaard 2 points, Rashford only 2 points, Mitoma 13. And this is another point also, because some managers did play much over Mitoma, but this is like 50-50 call. It's just preference, because in terms of stats, people or community or did mention that March have a slightly better stats, because he actually also took the free kicks and so on. Okay, But Mitopa, to me, like I did not have him since post World Cup. That I always see him as a threat. He's lively and he actually produced some wonderful goal. So I decided to start him and got that 13 points. There's no doubt Mitoma will start in my team. But Saka is another one. I mean, like you mentioned, okay, a lot of managers captain Haaland, okay, and we try to be different because there is a potential big haul if let's say Arsenal win big against Bournemouth. We already know Bournemouth actually down low in the league table, right? But he disappointed us only 2 points. Haaland is the winner because he got an assist even though he actually produced a yellow card. So that's why he got 4 points to two different points there lah, that Haaland captain has gained. All right. Kane, another asset that I expect to produce. But we already know Spurs are inconsistent. Kane only 2 points. But for now, we're going to hold him. And then Tony, without a doubt, also a good asset to have a penalty and 2 bonus points. So that's for my team. And the rest is actually for preparation of double game week 27 March Raya. But on top of that, my mind is actually double game week 29 for bench boost, which a lot of managers or the content creator are actually planning to. That's why they have like 2 Newcastle assets there. So that's about my teammate. But can you imagine if I kept Salah, Darwin, I have TAA before this. You know what? I have McNeil, and he actually produced an assist
Still got
against
something.
Forest, right? And then actually in Ketia, I actually replaced with Tony. So just enough money to do that. So
Oh, that's right. Because originally you weren't going to wildcard at first, right? Yeah, I remember
yeah,
this. Yeah. We couldn't do the deadline stream, but
yeah,
yeah, the original. I think during the week, Hafiz didn't have any. Wasn't really looking at wildcarding until I think he was doing a lot of experimentation. But at the end of the day, that wildcard, fine, it didn't work out for the first week, but it is still a long-term investment, and you have the plans to be able to deal with the this double game week, followed by the blank game week, followed by the next double game week. So your team's pretty much all set. But of course you wanted returns. You think that
yeah.
Kane, the likes of Kane, would do something, but you were right. Our Spurs were really inconsistent, and I didn't expect to the point that they couldn't score against Wolves though. But yeah, credit again to Lopetegui, however he's called him, for Samuel stifling Spurs. And yeah. So you mentioned it's LTA. So on my side, I had, because I have the reason I ended up with excess funds is because I sold Robertson. Who, imagine if I kept Robertson. However, because unfortunately, if I kept Robertson, I'd be in bigger trouble, and that's something we'll look at in my future plans, because I am now having issues with game week 28. So yeah, but no worries, we'll look at that in the upcoming discussion.
Let's go, quickly on the team of the week. We already know the top performer for game week 26. Who else? Mr. Mo Salah reminds us how deadly he could be. He actually produced 2 goals and 2 assists. If I'm not mistaken, 1 point for clean sheet and 3 bonus points, and really, really big 21 points. Can you imagine if, let's say, anyone captaining Salah last game week 26, which could be you, like you mentioned before we go into the stream. Just a quick stats in terms of captaincy. Haaland is the most captain last week, around 5.3 million managers. Then Saka second with 1.5 million managers captaining him. And the third one is Salah with 700,000 managers captaining him, and got 21 times 2, 42 points. So all good shout out to whoever captaining Salah last week. All right. Yeah.
Well, obviously, there's 2 keepers there, so but they can only fit one. Either Ward or Sa would have been great there. Which, excuse me, I have both, but it doesn't matter. You can only fit one. But this is probably the best game week throughout this whole season, because to match with the team of the game week. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. I have four of these players on my team for this week. So yeah, so I would think, if people had Gakpo as well, that's incredible. But yeah. So yeah, this is. Let me just take a look. So Nelson once again doing the biz while when coming in and running off with the points. So you see how dangerous Nelson is if there's not enough people in there to, the normals, and then he has to come in at some point to try to win the game. He won the game for Arsenal, so you gotta see Arsenal there. So at least in the midfield there is some depth there that Arsenal can rely on to carry them to the title. McAllister and Mitoma, does seem to be the case that there were quite a few people who had both McAllister and Mitoma and benched one, so can't do anything there. But the sad ones are those who had March and one of them, either McAllister and Mitoma, and played March and benched McAllister. But it's choosing between these three Brighton midfielders, it looks so tough. Everything is so close. The only thing with McAllister is he does take the penalties, but he also has a reputation of playing much deeper. So it was always hard. And statistically speaking, I believe March was the one who always looked the most likely, but unfortunately he's the one who blanked this one. That's FPL, I guess.
Yep, that's definitely FPL. Azmi already touched in terms of Liverpool assets. Gakpo, Salah, Darwin, all producing double-digit points. Nelson, we are never going to think about him until he actually starts, right? Johnson another day, 13 points. Forest keep ticking against Everton, and Forest do play in game week 28 at least. Yeah. And then double in game week 29. So that could be another option, right? Fofana, in terms of Chelsea defense, if you don't trust Reece James, and Fofana, cheap, 4.2, 4.3 million. So he could be another one to put on our radar. Game week 28 Chelsea do play, and then they actually play twice in game week 29. Cash, Aston Villa. There's no Watkins here, but Cash put himself up front here with 12 points. But definitely, the Brighton players that we need to watch out. Veltman, 13 points, McAllister and Mitoma. But it could be easily anyone else inside here.
That's right. Yeah.
All right.
So yeah. Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
Let's go to the some analysis on game week 26. Surprise, from 10 games made, all 9 home team wins and only one team drew, which is Forest against Everton. The rest home wins. Can't imagine that. When the last time this happened, 7 clean sheets and mouthful 31 goals. There are a lot of goals there. We definitely want to touch about Liverpool scoring 7-0. Whoever thought, man, especially you as a fan.
Oh no, definitely.
Okay.
Obviously, I was hoping for a win, but didn't expect the win to be that incredible. And I like the fact that the 7th goal was scored by our Firmino, who is now confirming that he will be leaving the club, but he's still very much loved by Liverpool fans. So there's gonna be no ill will when he leaves, because we know how much he's done for Liverpool in the past. So yeah, it'd be sad to see him go, but that's football. You've got to move on at some point. Anyway, coming back to the analysis, so Manchester United were not in the races. They were in the races in the first half. Sure, Gakpo scored first, but at the halftime it was still pretty much even in terms of possession, in terms of attacking, and then they just simply collapsed. Obviously I wanted a win, but nowhere did I expect that. I was just hoping maybe 1 or 2-0 where Darwin or Salah might hopefully be in the goals, but Manchester United really turned off. And as per what Ten Hag mentioned, it was a very unprofessional of them, how they just decided to stop playing for some of them, especially the likes of Bruno Fernandes. There was a lot of Twitter noise about him trying to get himself subbed out, and then so very disappointing. But hopefully, but I think they've gotten away from that, because they know that they're still there in terms of in the top 4, and they just need to push on. and recover from this. I think Rashford said something along that one should not let this game define the season, and he's absolutely
Yeah.
right because
Yeah.
Manchester United were doing so well up until this match. So yeah,
Okay.
but it's nice to see Gakpo. Gakpo is really coming into his own now. It was a bit of a doubt, but it's created a bit of a dilemma for Klopp now because I think the idea was always probably that Jota would replace Gakpo permanently, but now it looks like Gakpo has really staked his claim. So it'll be interesting to see, but also knowing that Liverpool are still involved in, to be fair, an uphill battle for the Champions League against Real Madrid. So I guess you can argue quite likely that Liverpool will exit the Champions League because they're just too far. Yeah. So, but that leaves them free to concentrate on the league where they can perform and finish off nicely.
Can I say Liverpool is now at 5th or 6th place, right, in the league? They are actually moving up, right?
Yep.
In terms of league table, as definitely this result would give a lot of confidence to Liverpool players and assets moving forward. If I'm not mistaken, they actually also kept clean sheet 4 of 5 right now. Okay. Then Liverpool definitely next game against Brentford definitely a good match. And then moving forward, we know Liverpool will have some doubles coming up. So I
Yep.
think Salah will definitely in everyone's mind right now. Okay, I can see Haaland and Salah will be dominating teams sooner rather than later. That I can see. Liverpool, if they say Liverpool like continue like a big score against Bournemouth after this, then they blank in game week 28. Okay, would like to remind on that. Okay, and then that game in 29, if people thinking after international break and so on, they can overload in terms of Liverpool players moving forward. All right.
Yep. Right.
Next one, I'll go to my team. Okay, Chelsea. Last but not least, they finally got a win, but just a 1-0 win. Okay, at least that's a boost moral. Moving forward, they kept a clean sheet. Fofana is the goal scorer. Chilwell producing assists. That could be another option. Okay, in terms of defense, but in terms of attacking, you can see there. There's still doubt. There's still uncertainty in terms of who actually the best player. Felix, Sterling coming into frame. Havertz still not there. But into the Champions League midweek yesterday, Havertz and Sterling did score, so that could be hopefully can continue the run. But still, Chelsea is still wait and see for me. Mate?
Yeah. So one thing that seems to have tweaked tweak by Graham Potter, which seems to have worked well, and it does allow for some potential for FPL players, is the fact that he's back to playing in a back three, which means Reece James and Chilwell. If you remember how lethal they were from 3 seasons ago, when they were both fit and raring, they were pretty much taking turns to score the FPL points back then. So obviously, they're not as young as they used to be. Okay, let's be fair, but they definitely can do well here, and we won't be considering them until maybe 28 or 29, I guess, because of the double game weeks. We're focusing on that. But for those who are free hitting on 28, you might want to consider having a go at a Chelsea defender. Although the questions are obviously for fun are scored, but this game week. But James or Chilwell looks lively, and looking at the stats, that might be worth a punt.
All right. We touch a bit on Man City Newcastle. We did expect Manchester City to win. Okay, Foden again. Okay, and Mahrez did not start. Okay, and he did not play. I think. All right, totally. But Foden already come back. He looks good. Haaland producing only assists, but Newcastle did play a good game. They missed some sitter, they missed some chances, but in the end they lost 2-0. So Man City definitely still the team to target, but they gonna play in 27, I think against Palace, but then they blank after that, and then only have one fixture at game week 29. So people are thinking like moving Man City asset first and then come back to game week 29. So what do you think, man?
this is why I made that conscious decision to avoid City. Aside from Haaland, this is another example. Mahrez suddenly disappearing. We thought it was a lock-in, a few weeks back, and now he's just gone. And Foden has staked his claim and come back in, and but yeah, fine, great timing Foden right at this time when we're trying to divest City assets. Hell, we're even trying to get off Haaland, for crying out loud, to make way for double game players, and yeah, you're not helping Foden. Hate you. It's so annoying. Okay, sorry. Going off a tangent there. So again, another poor game by Newcastle, and it's just it's they haven't won for quite a while now. I can't remember since, I think it was since January or something. So they really need to figure out what's going on, and they start sliding down the ranks, and they've got players, but it's not happening. It's not clicking for them at the moment.
We shall see this week against Wolves. Later we touch. Brighton against West Ham, another important result and a big result for Brighton. They win 4-0 against West Ham. West Ham has been poor all this season. But Brighton looking really, really a team that you should target. And definitely in Gameweek 27, we're going to touch later. Okay, and then moving forward, because Brighton going to have a lot of double game week coming up. So what do you think, man? Brighton, is this like a trap, or do you feel Brighton really the team that you need to target?
With Brighton, right? So I think, because as you know, Brighton and Brentford were the two teams who we were looking at in terms of goal scoring ability for the double game weeks, and the general consensus was get Brighton midfielders and get Brentford defenders and Tony. So yeah, because the Brentford defenders, it was just hard to decide between, and we know that Tony is always the focal point, and he's been doing well anyway. So yeah, but the Brentford defense was also a lot more resilient. And suddenly we see Brighton keeping the clean sheet and Brentford conceding too. But to be fair, Brentford was against Fulham, who are a top 10 side at the moment. So I digress. So coming back to Brighton, so so those with Marsh were just unlucky, but it was that choice between the three midfielders, it's always going to be tough. And for those who wildcarded, you would it was quite likely that you would leave some on the bench for this game week and play all three of them for game week 27, because you had the likes of Rashford, who's in high form, you had Haaland in there. But yeah, so you got McAllister and McTominay both scoring individually more than Rashford and Haaland combined. So it goes to tell. Unfortunately, the worst story that came out of it was when for some of those who preparing for the double gamers, was the fact when they announced the lineup and Sanchez had disappeared from the starting 11. So that was the first shock of that day, and it was like, what's going on, And I think that it has thrown a spanner in the works for those who have Sanchez, because it looks like steal, based on what RDZ said, that we all calling him the short form, the Brighton manager, is that Steele might be the number one for now, because he likes the way they play, and it didn't help. It did not help Sanchez's case at all that Brighton kept a clean sheet, against Ings, who was seemingly looking to help revive West Ham's fortune, but even he couldn't find a way past the Brighton defense. So yeah, it looks like that's most people. If who had gone for Sanchez instead of Raya, you now have to decide whether to take a hit or use a transfer to bring in a keeper instead, because it doesn't look like Sanchez will be starting.
Yeah. Definitely a good point, Azmin did mention. I'm about to say that Steele actually start this game. Okay, so definitely there's doubt whether Sanchez can actually start. We are just not sure. Just need to see the next game. But the next game is actually a double game week for Brighton. So we just won't sure. Steele start both game or Sanchez come back to the team. We are really not sure. But from the comment, Dizabi did mention that he likes how Steele perform, and that's why he actually starts his game. All right, we touch a bit on Arsenal against Bournemouth. Okay, we actually expect a big win and a clean sheet against Bournemouth, but it's not meant to be, man. Okay, where Arsenal won 3-2 after conceding 2 goals first from Bournemouth. All right. And then can you imagine people are wildcarding, taking out White and bring in Gabriel Zinchenko. You you see who actually scored? White did score a goal and got 7 points, if I'm not mistaken. So you can see how FPL can be cruel last week. So that is the situation that you can have. Partey did score a goal. Okay,
Yeah,
nothing
there
for
are people were going na 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 na.
That's right. Nothing for Martinelli, Odegaard, Saka, nothing. Okay, even though I think there's like 20 plus shots from Arsenal to Bournemouth goal. So pretty much, but everyone gonna have Arsenal because they're actually going to have a fixture in game week 28, and they're gonna play Fulham this week. So pretty much, you will stand by any Arsenal assets before you gonna think after game week 28. So anything to mention here, man, in terms of Arsenal?
Just the fact that I think people were still, getting comfortable on the couch, and then suddenly Bournemouth score after 9 seconds or something of the goal start. We were like, what the hell? So those of us who have Arsenal
Yeah,
as
yeah,
defenders, most of us have one Arsenal defender. So all that was it. Burned like that, just like that. And
yeah,
to top it off, the final goal was scored in the almost the last minute as well, which was by Nelson. So he was ended by us by early goals and last minute goals. It was a nice match to watch. I do feel sad for Bournemouth,
yeah,
who
yeah,
put up a good fight, but credit to Arsenal, and I guess they and we've seen a resilience in Arsenal that we hadn't seen in the past few seasons, where they sometimes collapse or just get demotivated, but they bounce back. Was it another of Arteta's half team talks that we might find that out on social media at some point again. But yeah, credit to Arsenal, and it's looking good for them.
yeah. I think Arsenal with this kind of form and actually results, you can see luck and so on. But in terms of you championship or you want to win the league title, you need this kind of result. So really, Arsenal have this, and this could easily be their season. So touch a bit on Brentford versus Fulham. Two good teams, okay, fight between each other. Brentford versus Fulham. We can see there Tony, Jensen, and Pinnock in the mix of scoring goals. And then on Fulham side, okay, nothing much to say, but Andreas 2 assists there. And can you imagine if, let's say, you have Mahrez and did not play, and then Andreas came in from your sub and producing 8 points just now. So that's about Fulham, but more to touch on Brentford, especially because Tony, from this match, he avoided a yellow card. Then we can mention that he actually going to be safe to play next week double for sure, because if he actually receive a yellow card in the first game, he would definitely play the second game at least. So that's for Tony purposes. So what do you want to touch in terms of Brentford Fulham?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm just we were look. It was between I keep saying Henry, Pinnock, and me in terms of that Brentford defense, or Raya. Unfortunately, those who had Raya were disappointed. But looking at the wildcard trends, a lot of them have the Chelsea keeper for this week, and were keeping their double game week keeper on the bench, which because I guess they expected their opponents to score. So yeah, it was a keeper's day because those who played Brighton, the Brighton keeper, he didn't play, while those who played the Brentford keeper conceded 2 goals. So the Pinnock thing, yeah, it could have been anyone. And to be honest, I went for me, and I did consider in terms of the fact that Brentford playing a back three, which with full backs of Pinnock, wing backs of Henry and Pinnock. And then, to be honest, I'm not going to be too upset about it having picked me, because if I went for a wing back, I would have picked Henry anyway. I would have picked Pinnock. I mean, I had decided that if I was going to go for it, I'd be Henry. So, but yeah, Brentford's goals are pretty spread out. But Tony did end up with bonus points there, but he didn't have any assists, so it was quite spread out. But and one thing with Brentford is that they've changed from the start of the season, where they were very super reliant on Tony. Now they are. I mean, Tony is still scoring goals, but unlike the start of the season, he's not the only one scoring goals now. You've got Mbuemo contributing, although not this week. But you've got the likes of Jensen coming in, their defenders scoring. So it's nice to see Brentford's evolution. And they don't have to rely on Tony to score, but of course he's still this pivot, and he's the best penalty taker in the league at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah. I saw a stats like he only missed one out of, is it 30 plus?
Yes, throughout his career. Yeah, and still perfect record in the Premier League too.
Yeah. Okay, that's all the thing. I did not touch everything, but we did mention Wolves did win 1-0 against Spurs, so we know Spurs are inconsistent and anything can happen today. But credit to Wolves who actually won that game. All right. We jump straight to the teams who play double in Gameweek 27. I will highlight to you all. Brighton play twice, which is against Leeds away and then home to Crystal Palace. So really nice fixture. And then Brentford away to Everton. We already know Everton is down there. And then Southampton, so really at the bottom three, if I'm not mistaken, okay, in the league table, away and also, Southampton, they play away also. Okay, sorry for that. And then Crystal Palace, they played against Man City in the first game, but then Brighton away. But we can mention that Brighton is capable to score at in any game, all right, despite away. Then Southampton play away to Manchester United, a tough fixture, and then home to Brentford. But we already know Southampton is actually, they're still at the bottom of the league, right? Even though they win against Leicester, okay?
Yeah.
And I actually put some key players that people will definitely in their mind, in terms of each team. Brighton, we already mentioned. Mitoma, McAllister, and March is the perfect three midfielder if you want to go, right? Brentford, Tony is the first one on people team sheet. Ben Mee in defense, and also David Raya in goal. Crystal Palace, pretty much, if you're going in any asset, if Zaha fits, that's the only one you're going to think, unless you want to go different like Eze or any Olise, right? And then Southampton, definitely only one name if you want to pick any Southampton, which is still WP. So what do you think, mate?
Well, I guess Brentford is that slight error there, isn't it? It's Southampton away.
Yes, that's the typo.
Yeah. So anyway, so that key players, Mitoma, McAllister, March, it's I think most people who are already wildcarded probably have 2 out of 3 of these players and will be happy to play both of them. Yeah, if you have 3, if you're one of those who puts all the eggs in one basket because it is a double game week and just went for all 3 of them, you would definitely see some returns, because against Leeds who are quite still inconsistent, but more importantly that Palace match, where Palace have been terrible this year. Since the start of the year, they've been really poor. And Leeds, although they still lose against Chelsea last week, but it is just a 1-0. But yeah, you would expect Brighton to put them to the sword. But I think the more points will come out of the Brighton Crystal Palace match at home. On the Brentford side, because both teams are playing away, it's a bit of a question. And Everton at home are slightly better, and they did score 2 goals against Forest, who at home are supposed to be stronger. But that Southampton match though might not be as easy as it looks, because Southampton seem to be staging a bit of a recovery. They won against Chelsea a few weeks ago, and 1-0, and they lost. I think they lose the previous match. They lost 1-0 against Leeds, but then now they won
again Leicester.
Against Leicester. So but it's all 1-0 victories. So 1-0 score lines. So they are facing Manchester United, a very damaged, battered Manchester United though. So you'd expect some sort of rebound. Although technically speaking, Manchester United do play midweek. So
Midweek,
maybe
yeah.
that's the rebound against, was it Leipzig, wasn't it? RB Leipzig. I can't remember. Yeah, so it does raise the question, because they are playing midweek, are Southampton players, could they be an option? Now, obviously, the option there is JWP. So anyway, but he missed the penalty. So what? I think he's allowed to miss one because he's. But at the end of the day, if you look at stats, corners he's taking, free kicks he's taking, penalties he's taking. So
Yeah, yeah, everything. He's definitely the talisman of the team.
yeah, and not, they've okay. Technically speaking, he will face two teams. One who's just conceded 7, the others conceded 2. I'm sorry, Manchester United fan, but that's just the reality. So I mean, I think JWP could be an option. I mean, it may not be an option for those of us or those of you who have plans to have double game in 27 and 29, because 29 I don't think Southampton double.
Yeah.
Just check. Yeah, they don't double. They only have one match. So, but for those who are not following that plan, then definitely I think. I mean, okay, like myself, my current plan is to absorb 27 and 28 and wildcard in 29. So the reason I want to wildcard in 29 is because the popular theory, because there's a lot of people who did wildcard in 26 and going to wildcard in 27 so that they can bench boost in 29. I'm not keen on 29 simply for the fact that it's after an international break where lots can happen. So I'm planning to wildcard at 29. So that means that if I want to pick JWP for this week, it's fine because they don't blank next week. They play double, and after that I can get rid of him. So that's but for those who are not on that trajectory, who are on that black bench boost 29 plan, then picking JWP might not be a good idea.
All right. So as you can dissect here, we definitely want to focus on Brighton and Brentford asset, especially because they have really good fixture for Gameweek 27. So we put some stats in terms of Brentford and Brighton players. This is actually stats after post World Cup, all right, of which in terms of Brentford player, Tony is number 1 in terms of producing points, okay. But in terms of other stats like goal threat, he actually also the number 1 in terms of shots on target and even actually inside the box for Brentford. So basically, he's the one to target if you want Brentford attacking. Okay, that's the first one. Okay, top 5 others that we can consider. Jensen in midfield, he did score right in game week 26, and he's priced at 4.8 million. Not bad at a cheap enabler, right? He's actually second after Tony. Then Pinnock name is there. I didn't realize 39 points with Mbomo and me. These are the name like secondary players that we're going to think about Brentford, but all about Tony. I think that's the one that you need to get in if you want any Brentford players. What do you think, mate? We focus on Brentford first.
It's a tough one. Yeah, I don't have Tony at the moment, and I'm looking to bring him in because he seems to be very much involved, and his obviously his shots are the most, almost pretty much double by Mbuemo's and so far from anyone else's. And his XG, you see, guys, his XG, it's quite insane for Tony. So it feels like it's, as rogue as I like to be, going without Tony it feels like me going without Haaland at the start of this season. So, yeah. So, but
we
of
always
course,
know, okay, Tony can troll you anytime. We've been there before, also, mate.
yeah, and that's why I'm thinking, which do I want to risk it or not? Yeah, but never mind. I can look at the team later. But yeah, can Pinnock do the same? Chances are he won't. That's unlikely. It could be any other person, but yeah, it's definitely those who have him will be happy going into the double game week anyway. Mbuemo is really a long shot because you really only have one room for one Brentford striker,
Yep.
You'd want Tony. You have the money is no object right now apparently, and Mbeumo doesn't take penalties. So there you go.
Yeah. We touch on Brighton players. People doubt in terms of who's the best Brighton players, McAllister, March, Mitoma. We can see that much in terms of post World Cup. He actually brought in the most points, 64 points. Okay, and in terms of goal threat, I can see there he's really up there in terms of shots, on target, and even inside the box. First after Mitoma. Okay, but in terms of Mitoma, is expected XG a bit higher, but it's not much different to Solimatch. McAllister is not here because his actually game time also not that high after World Cup. He actually takes some break, so you can see that he's not in the list. But he already remind us that he can actually be in the mix of Gameweek 27 players for Brighton Assets to pick, because he actually took a penalty like Azmin mentioned. So pretty much close. I feel you cannot go wrong whether March, Mitoma or McAllister, mate.
Yeah, it's tough. It really is tough. So if I was wildcarding with Brighton, I'd probably go for 2 Brighton midfielders and 1 Estupian. Yeah. So just to disperse it out a bit. But yeah, picking the 2 midfielders is going to be really hard. I know much managers are disappointed, but it'll probably still come good eventually.
Yep. I agree.
It's hard, but yeah, definitely. Despite Gross being there, we'll definitely roll out Gross. McAllister is definitely the person to look at.
Okay. Next main points prediction for Game Week 27. I extract from Fantasy Football Hub. Okay, of which the most predicted in terms of points for Game Week 27 is Ivan Toney with 11.8 points. We already know in terms of minutes, he's definitely 90-minute man. He's going to be taking penalty. Okay, any bonus point, most definitely he's going to get. All right, so Brentford, pretty much Toney is the first predicted point. Then Kane, I don't know whether I want to trust Kane, but he's actually second in this predicted point against Forest at home. Maybe, but Forest is not like a easy meet now. Okay, I can see that Forest has been improving. So, and Spurs are inconsistent, right? But after that, we can see Solimatch with 9.6 points, McAllister 9.4, and Mitoma really close between each other. Cannot go wrong with any Brighton asset. But these are the top 5 players predicted to score high in Game Week 27. What do you think?
Where the hell is Salah? Why is Salah not there? Salah plays Liverpool play Bournemouth, who, if you remember, they trounced 9-0. However, but if I remember correctly, Salah
did not involve.
Salah wasn't involved, so maybe that's why. But anyway, let's just throw Salah in the mix as well, because and I don't know, even Haaland, they play a really poor Palace right now. You can also throw him into the mix. So there is the funny thing is you got 4 in this points prediction. You got 4 double gamers, but then the single gamers seem to have good matches as well. You got Spurs against Forest, who are rubbish away when playing away. You got Liverpool against Bournemouth, who have the nice track record, and we saw them collapse against Arsenal despite putting a valiant effort. Then you have
Manchester United versus Southampton.
That also 4 Manchester United versus Southampton. So obviously, why Rashford isn't here, I'm not sure. But then, to be fair, Southampton have looked a bit more steady of late. But then you also have Haaland against Crystal Palace. So actually, there's a lot of single gamers who could really potentially score well as well. So I don't. Yeah, it's hard. It could be anyone here. I guess it does lead to the captaincy discussion, doesn't it?
Later, we touch definitely, but most probably people are going to captain the players who are going to play double game. Yeah, but I really think this week any single game week players like you mentioned, Liverpool, Manchester United, City, or even Spurs could actually score more points than them. I won't be surprised, definitely. This is where I remind like last season, like Watford play double, or is it Burnley play double? Then we get excited to captain them. But this could be a different story. Like, I mean, Brentford and Brighton are gunning for European place.
Yep. It does look like a different story, and they was calling in bucket loads. These play. I mean, they're
Yep,
looking
yep,
good both for Brentford
yep.
and Brighton. So yeah, but don't remind me of that.
Okay, let's go next one. Game week 27 fixture. Okay, we already know four teams who are going to play twice this week: Brighton, Palace, Southampton, and Brentford. But we also want to mention some good single game week fixture, of which the early kickoff on Saturday will be at 8:30 p.m. Bournemouth versus Liverpool. Okay, Bournemouth versus Liverpool. Then we have Everton versus Brentford. Everton, who is now on 18th place in the league. Yes, all right. And then they face Brentford, who actually at 9th place, but they are closing in terms of getting the European place. Next is Leeds versus Brighton. Leeds also desperate for points. They are at the bottom on 17th place. Really crucial down there, man. 21 points, 22 points, 23 points, 24 points, up to Leicester at 15th place. So
Yeah.
anything can happen. All right. Then Leicester versus Chelsea. Leicester desperate for points, but Chelsea also want to continue their good run. And then we have Spurs versus Forest. Spurs still in the hunt for top four. All right. So they're really inconsistent right now. We have on midnight Saturday, Palace versus Man City. Okay. Fulham versus Arsenal on Sunday. Manchester United versus Southampton. Red Devils versus the Saints. We have West Ham versus Villa. West Ham also really need points. And then on we close off Sunday midnight with Newcastle versus Wolves, another team who actually in top four hunt, which is Newcastle. So anything to touch in terms of game week 27 fixture, mate?
Well, okay. So Bournemouth are at the bottom of the table, and they play the first match, which is Liverpool. You'd think it unlikely to for them to win it, but let's say, I mean, the reason, because you mentioned earlier the relegation, how tight the relegation
Yeah,
battle is,
yeah,
but you
yeah.
got to wonder how well the other teams play. So let's say if Bournemouth, okay, just for example, I hate to say this, but let's say Bournemouth win against Liverpool. Let's say, okay, so they win, and they're on 21 points. They jump up to 24, pushing
Yep,
everyone down. Southampton go bottom, and Leeds enter the relegation zone
yep, yeah,
together with Everton.
yeah.
So Leeds, Everton, who are already at 18, then they go into 19. So you would think that Leeds suddenly have extra motivated to um, hold out against Brighton because they suddenly find themselves back in the relegation zone. They won last week and jumped out of the relegation zone. Now they come back in again. Whereas I mean, and if you look at it another way, Southampton last week were at the bottom of the table, but the win against Leicester
Yep, yeah.
moved them up. So even that, you think there's some an extra pressure involved, which will happen during the week. So anyway, moving on in terms of other matches, yeah. So that Manchester United Southampton, that's where you think that those of us who held on to Rashford are looking for points there, and you'd expect to see a rout, but it's Southampton who have been decent of late. So let's I mean, I think it's enough to put anyone off from gambling a captaincy on Rashford, isn't it? But that Manchester City Crystal Palace match, I do wonder. Yeah, and I've been toying
Mm.
about selling Haaland to get in a double gamer, which is Tony. I don't know if that's the right move because it's hard. It's hard
It's
because if
hard.
I that's the only reason I would want to do that is if I want to get to 11 players in game week 28, and it's not looking good at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, all right.
But in terms of single game, yeah, that Spurs Forest, Kane could hold there.
Yeah, we mentioned it so many times, but I'm not sure whether the last time Kane did haul like 2 or 3 goals, right?
Yeah,
I can't recall. Yeah.
because Forest away are a different animal to Forest at home, and I'm genuinely worried because I don't have him. Yeah, but
Okay. But to some people like me, wildcarders, we do not have Salah. So people are going to worry about Salah anyway. So you cannot have everyone. But just
yeah,
to mention, Bournemouth versus Liverpool is the early kickoff, and people like husband remember we never gonna captain the early game.
ah,
Right. Haaland did play early last week, and he only got 4 points. Okay.
Hmm.
All right. So
Oh, that's
that,
right. He did. He started. Yeah.
Man City versus Newcastle is the league kickoff in game 26, and he only produced 4 points. So, but those are the things people. But we can still remember like Watford versus Liverpool, right? And then Salah scored really high points. That is a early kickoff game, so you cannot rely on this so much.
One thing, the other thing to remember that in terms of Spurs, because Spurs do play tonight against Milan,
Okay.
and it could be a really hard game because I think they won all at the moment. So that's going to be because if
I think they lost, right? I think they lost the game.
oh no, yeah, sorry, that's right, yeah. So
So they
if
need points. They need to win.
because if Milan score a goal there, then it becomes a, uphill battle if they score at Spurs, at Spurs home turf. But yeah.
Okay, man, let's go to the captain pick. We already saw the prediction point, and the voters had actually picked through fantasy football scout. Tony is the best captaincy pick for game week 27 with 39%. Then second, Mitoma with 27%. And the rest, Salah third, McAllister and Haaland name are there in the top 5. But I present you, at least this the top 3 that people are talking. Tony, who actually played double, but both are away. Okay, but it's actually Everton and Southampton. Really nice match. Brighton play one of them at home against Crystal Palace and away to Leeds. And we already know Mr. Mo Salah, 21 points. Can I recap again? 21 points. All right. Mo Salah scored. I don't know. He could actually easily, without counting any double game players, he's the single game players who scored 21 points, right?
Yeah.
So what do you think, man? In terms of captain pick, I think the traffic will definitely captain Tony. But is there any justification to go others?
Okay, so the main reason that you go for Tony is a few reasons. One is he's double gamer. He's taking penalties, and a lot of the play is centered around him. They do rely on him a lot, and whenever Brentford scores goals, Tony always seems to be involved. Whereas contrast that with Brighton, they're sharing the goals. One person is a focal point. Of course, McAllister has the advantage of taking penalties, but then he is he's not there in terms of because he seems to be playing as a Gundogan style. So that's the problem there on picking him. So I think yes, most people go for Tony as in terms of the goals. Salah, anyone who goes for Salah is a bit of rogue, given they played the early match. But I don't know, maybe I'm one of those rogues. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows, right? Really informed. And that 20 points really remind us how powerful he can be. Okay, let's go a bit in terms of fixture ticker before we go to our team plan for game week 27. We can see that Brentford, is on top of fixture ticker when taking into account for the next 4 game. Okay, Brentford do double in game week 27. They play in game week 28, okay, against Leicester at home, and then double in 29, Brighton and also Manchester United. So 5 fixture for the next 3 game atau 3 weeks. So definitely Brentford is on the rise. Then we have Aston Villa, game week 27, they play West Ham, and then they play in game week 28 against Bournemouth at home. So there's potential the likes of Watkins and Bundia could actually score in that game, and then they play twice in game week 29. That's why people are talking about transition Haaland in game week 28, because Man City do blank in game week 28, take out Haaland and bring in, say, Watkins, because Aston Villa have 3 fixtures to play in 28 and 29, but for Haaland, they only going to play 1 game, which is in 29, of which they play Liverpool. That's why you can see that Liverpool, Man City, and Fulham is down there in terms of fixture ticker, man. So, yes, anything you want to say about this fixture ticker?
Yeah, so obviously it depends on your chip plans, but those who've already wildcarded, you'll be looking to see it through all the way until 29. For those of us who haven't, yeah, a lot of people seem to be wildcarding now in 27 with the main intention of going for a bench boost in 29. I don't know how many of you are like me who are looking to wildcard in 29, and just the aim now is just to, for me, is just to survive that 27 and 28 to have enough players. But the problem with 28 is the fact that Spurs face Southampton, and I don't have Kane. So I'm going to bank on rely on what Hafiz said about Spurs being inconsistent, and hope the same thing that happens against Wolves happens again. But other than that, moving for you guys, yeah. So carry on, max up. Don't forget that Brighton do blank in 28. So a lot of you already prepared for that, but those who haven't are still looking to bring in. Then that's your caution, because that week 28 looks like it could be quite tricky, especially if you plan to keep, if you don't have a wild card and you anymore, and you want to keep your Rashfords and your Kanes, so that doesn't leave you a lot of room to maneuver if you don't already have Brighton and Brentford assets. So if you don't have or don't have enough, then my suggestion is to focus on the Brentford assets, because at least they won't blank in game week 28.
Man, you're in a special or in a unique situation, because most of us already wildcard. You're not. And you have 2 Liverpool assets, man. You can go a different strategy, I feel. Okay. If you can see that Liverpool, they play in 27 against Bournemouth, then they blank in game week 28. But after that, they have double game week 29, although it's against Man City and Chelsea. Okay. And then Arsenal in game week 30. All right. So there's some tough fixture coming up, but we already know that the Liverpool is on the rise. Okay. So there could be a strategy, okay, like you mentioned, that end your team and wildcard in 29. That could be an option. But maybe there is also an opening. You keep the Liverpool assets, but you free hit in 28 because you want to keep the Liverpool players. That could be an option. I just throw it to you. But it's all depending on the team. I feel if, let's say, any managers who have 3 or 2 Liverpool players, I think that could be another strategy if you want to keep the Liverpool players. Okay. All right. I think Azmin has some issue in terms of his laptop. So I think we go to our team. Okay. Azmin will come back later. I go to my team first. All right. So for my team, in terms of game week 27, I will definitely continue to roll my transfer, because my team already set up for game week 27, of which I have like 6 doublers. We can see there, Raya in goal, okay, and then I have Henry. I'm going to play Trippier, who actually play at home against Wolves, and then Estupinan, Brighton, who actually play double. Then I have March, okay, and Mitoma as the 3 Brighton players, okay, 2 in midfield. Rashford at home against Southampton, and Saka away to Fulham. Then I have Harry Kane, Forest at home, Haaland away to Crystal Palace, and Tony playing twice. And currently my captain armband is on the English striker. Okay. If you can see on the bench, I have Kepa playing Leicester away, Odegaard, Gabriel both playing away to Fulham, and Botman playing home against Wolves. There is possibility. Okay, the right thing to do is maybe bench boost could be an option this week, but we want to take or get the higher upside, which is in game week 29. Although, like if you follow Flapjack, okay, Flapjack did mention that when we want to plan bench boost in game week 29, there's like 2-3 weeks. And then on top of that, after game week 28, there is an international break. So definitely there is any possibility in terms of injury or any other thing can happen, and then players get injured, all right, during international break or during this 27, 28 fixture. By all means, I still plan to do that. But Flapjack did mention that he wants to strengthen his bench boost and get another doubler and play bench boost cheap this week. So that could be another option. I feel that's also a good strategy because after that you can plan to go cheap at your bench and plan for your team. Okay. Okay, Azmi not here. But let's go to some question. There's a lot of question here. Okay, FPL mentioned if I activate wildcard this game week, is Salah essential? If you wildcard this week and if you bring in Salah, the headache will be on game week 28. Liverpool are not playing. Either you are going to set up your team and bench Salah, that could be an option, and then plan for game week 29. But it's going to be tricky, that I can say. Most of people would definitely activate their wildcard without taking into account any Liverpool assets and bringing them after the tough fixture. You can see that game week 29, Man City, Chelsea, and then Arsenal. Maybe after that you can bring them. Henry, me, Pinot, you cannot go wrong any of these Brentford players. Me, in terms of goal threat, and Pinot is the higher than Henry. But Pinot is the cheapest one, and Pinot already produced a goal last week. So Henry only produced 1 point, so I can't say much. But when I did some research in terms of overall, in terms of producing, me did produce like 3 goals, 1 assist. Henry maybe got a couple of assists, but Pinot did not do anything or got any goal or assist. But then those are only research, and then he actually scored a goal last week. So that stats can go into the door. All right. If I already have Mitoma and March, should I sell March for McAllister, I suppose, right? This is like sideways move. I did get some input from Big Man Bakar, even as who actually Brighton fan. Okay, all are close stats. It just matter of picking the player that you feel is good for your team. Mitoma, like myself, and also March. In terms of stats, we can see they are both 2 on at the top, but McAllister do actually take a penalty, so anything can happen. I don't think you should do that just because 1 week he bled. If I may recall, March actually produced like a high point. When is it? Let me have a quick look. Brighton, Solly March, he produced like 19 points in game week 20. It's against Liverpool. Maybe Liverpool is back at the point, but Solly March could actually produce double-digit points at any time. So I think we can trust him. Selling Haaland on World Cup game week 27, good move. 27. All right, you plan for me and get maybe the likes of Watkins or any Chelsea asset in terms of striker. It could be a good move, but against Palace, okay, it's going to be tough. But the logic to do if let's say you're on wildcard, maybe to remove Haaland. Okay, but if you ask me, I'm scared to remove Haaland at any point. Sanchez to steal. I also cannot confirm whether still going to confirm his play, but he actually played last week. So, but we still uncertain. Maybe we wait for the press conference if they say Disaby did mention any news on still going to start or not. Okay. Mahrez, keep or sell? I think Mahrez is definitely a sell. He did not play any game time last week, so for sure it's not in the thinking. I think Man City asset can go away, all right, and don't pick any time soon, all right. Next, Azmin, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, you're back. Just a couple more questions before we wrap up. Bruno or Salah? Okay, I'm not sure about this, whether he's bringing any of these player or captaining. I suppose I don't know. Salah is more consistent. I can tell you that.
Yeah. Bruno versus Salah. It's because you expect Bruno to have some sort of reaction. He was really criticized in the last match for not doing his job as a captain. So it'll be interesting to see whether there's any fallout from that in terms of doing the job against Southampton. But between the two of them, I would probably go Salah.
All right. From Zanzuri, my friend. Okay, who to captain this week? Is Tony a good choice? We already see the trend. People are going to captain Tony. Tony is the talisman. As Mehdi mentioned, in terms of XG, is in terms of involvement, also he's up there. He's definitely the one to go for this week. But if you want to go different, the single Gameweek can be an option, or any Brighton asset. But we know the quality of Tony. Man, for you, with Trossard.
Tony definitely a good choice.
Yeah. With Trossard, Nketiah out.
No.
Smith Rowe, Will Nelson. Oh, man. This one, you just cannot tell, right? Nelson, we can hear the press whether Arteta going to mention any of these players to come in. With Havertz retake the penalty that gave Chelsea second goal. Okay, this is Champions League. Could Potter give that duty to others? I think Havertz going to take the penalty if let's say he's going to play. I don't think anyone else. We already see the Havertz during Tuchel time, he's actually took the penalty.
One thing that came out, there was a mention about Potter allowing Reece James as the second choice penalty taker. So the thing is, we know that Havertz isn't necessarily locked in for the first 11. So it does make it interesting if we're looking at picking the Chelsea back line again.
Yeah. Grealish now in Pep's good book. Looks like it. He's have a lot of minutes now. What do you think, mate?
Yes, it's now Grealish and Foden. It can change next week or the week after the break, but at the moment it's Grealish and Foden.
Yeah, but Man City, we just never know. And later, when we want to pick any Man City asset, if they actually qualify deeper into Champions League, definitely more headache, I can tell you that, right? So that's the situation of Man City asset. Mr. Saf, is it too much of a risk to go without Tony, man? You're in this situation. Your feeling is you need to get him in, is it?
I don't know. I think the safe play is to go with Tony. I think as much as I'd like to go without, it's hard. No, it's too much of a risk.
Okay. If money not an issue, Botman or Shah? I don't know about this, man. Maybe you like Shah more, right? But in terms of budget, Botman, if you're picking Shah, most likely you're gonna put on him only at the bench, 5 million plus. Botman
Yeah.
4.5, you can save 0.5.
I assume the question is because if you're looking to wildcard this week, I suppose,
Okay.
because Newcastle do play 2 game weeks in game week 29 and they also play in game week 28. So
Yep.
I'd go for Shah. Yeah, I'd
Okay.
go for Shah simply because additional goal threat.
Okay. Box 7. How about Zaha? I don't know. This guy has thrown me a lot, so I don't trust him. Even though he did start last game week, 90 minutes, I suppose. Yeah.
Thanks. No thanks. The supporting act isn't enough to convince me to go Zaha.
All right. Thanks for the question. Maybe before we go, man, run through your team because we just want to run through your
that's
team.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is your team. What is the plan in your mind, man?
Okay. So what I need to answer for myself now is it important for me to get to 11 players for game week 28? Okay. So if it is, then that means I will have to sacrifice, because at the moment I only have 7 players playing in game week 28. So I have to bring in 2 players and take a hit, bring another 2 and take another hit to get to 11 players. So the problem is to do that, because the other problem, if you combine that to the dilemma, because I don't have Tony, so I need to bring Tony. So now I could bring in for Darwin. I can bring it for Haaland. I can't sell Nacho because Nacho plays in 28.
Yep.
Yeah. So
I agree.
but Darwin and Haaland could both do
Yeah.
well here. So it's a huge, big question. The thing is, Nacho plays against Chelsea and it's not that great, but if I wanted to have that 28 player, that's where the problem is.
Can I say your plan right now is dead in your team for game week 28, right?
Yes, correct. Yeah. So I definitely in the week after, if I still had Haaland, I don't mind dumping him. And I have no issues with dumping Haaland because I don't have a lot of value fixed on him, invested in him either.
If I see your team, there is no issue. You can just play this team, and you have okay. You already used your transfer. You can actually save a transfer and plan for next week, which is game week 28. The more important
But
thing
if
is
I do that,
Hmm.
yeah, but at the moment I only have 7 players for game week 28.
Never mind. Game week 28. You think later because it's another week. How about 27? The most important thing is Brentford and Brighton, Palace and also Southampton double. So maybe you want to take the opportunity, okay? But if let's say you do not want to bring Tony, okay, there could be an option. But another question I want to ask: if you keep this team and don't bring any Tony in, who's you gonna captain?
Okay, that means I only have 2 double gamers. Me and Mitoma. I'm fighting against a field who have 6, or most likely have 6 double gamers, 3 Brentford and 3 Brighton. So I would have to go for Mitoma, on the basis of him being a double gamer, and but yeah. So let's say I don't, and I just keep. So I've rolled over a transfer with leaving. Yeah, and it feels hard, not to bring in someone like Tony for this week.
I understand, but Darwin and Salah could actually match those players. We just won't know, right, against Bournemouth.
Yeah. So the other alternative is I sacrifice Nacho for Tony and just expect that I'll only field 10 players in game week 28, which I think seems more viable.
Okay. All right. That could be an option, but yeah, it's going to be tough. If I'm in your situation, if I want to bring in Tony, most probably it's just between Darwin and Haaland because Iheanacho play game with 38.
Yeah.
But it's going to be a tough one. And I'm scared to remove Haaland, I can tell you that.
I want to bring a. I don't know. I'm interested in JWP, to be honest.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would have to be for someone like Odegaard or Andreas. I guess I can sell Andreas. Oh, I have 2.1 million in the bank, so I can just sell Andreas for JWP and bench Nacho for this match. I could do that.
All right. I like that. But we still have time to think what's our transfer plan because the deadline will be on Saturday, I mean. All right. I think that's all for our stream for tonight. It has been a long one, okay, but it's an important one because we want to discuss about Brighton and Brentford asset. So, Min, your last word before you go?
Yeah, all the best. Yeah, again, plenty of time. Again, don't forget there are still Europe matches going on. So let's see how we go after that. Yeah, and yeah, not all, but some, especially Spurs. So yeah, we will wait and see and look. And of course, the injury news is always important.
Right. Thank you guys who are actually watching this stream. Thank you for the support. Okay, do hit the like button and also subscribe to our FPL Jedi Show YouTube channel, okay? And you can know whenever we are live. Until then, we see you again, hopefully in the deadline stream. Take care. Bye-bye.